All right, hello and welcome. Thank you for being with us today. I've got a very special guest with me. Alida McDaniel is a intuitive life strategist. She has a show on Blog Talk Radio talking about a variety of spiritual and intuitive topics, some of which I will fully admit I don't even fully understand, but I think it's amazing what she can do. She gave me experience of her work last week, and I tell you, it was one of the most profound experiences that I've ever had in the spiritual community. It's a very, very profound personal experience, and I thought it would be amazing to kind of share with you what she has to offer and what she discusses and what kind of her insights and her journey through this on her own. So first off, just Alida, thank you for coming out to chat with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, me too. So I mean, we kind of got to wrap a little bit beforehand, and already we were getting energy was buzzing, and we were really having a good conversation, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to chat about this afternoon. So kind of just tell us a little bit about what was kind of the path for you. Like, how did you get on this path to be an intuitive life strategist, and what is that, and what what do people need to know about what it is you do and how you got there?
Good question. Well, I'll give you kind of like the brief backstory just so that people understand like where I've come from, because it's really super important. I find a lot of people can relate to this story. Is I was born with certain gifts. I'm a medium, so I can channel spirits. I can communicate with the other world, and I've always had visions and I could hear messages, but I spent a lot of years trying to fight it. I spent a lot of years just trying to ignore it or deny it because I was afraid that I was going to invoke some demons or like it made me wrong. So I wronged myself for a very long time. And I was diagnosed by a third different doctor to go on Prozac because I had massive amounts of depression. I had chronic illnesses from Epstein Barr to chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, obesity, and lots of other things. And when the doctor said that, it really floored me because at that time it was like, I'm still trying to figure myself out. Like my life it's all right, but like deep down inside, I really hate myself. Like, I was really struggling. And so I made an agreement with my mom. I said, I want to go to culinary school because I know I'm addicted to food. And if I can find a way to make the food that's healthy for me, right, then I'll be able to change my life. And so what I did was I went to culinary school, and while I was there, I didn't realize I was going there to find myself. And I always say the trannies helped me become who I am, because it was through hanging out with the transvestites that I learned to be okay with being me. And I learned to have fun in life, and I learned to go explore new possibilities and new aspects of my own personality. But while I was there, I stumbled across this book from Alan Watts that talked about reality versus religion and the missing pieces that we've lost in translating religion. And I thought, oh, this is interesting, because I've always like backed away from religion. It really freaked me out. Like all the ethereal stuff kind of just was like, I had like an icky relationship with religion. And so I started studying spirituality. I lost weight. I changed my life. And I went on this spiritual journey trying to find myself, doing meditations, and I was transcendental meditation where I was like astral planing and I was all over the place, but I still wasn't giving myself credit, and I was still in the midst of all these people who were kind of doubting my gifts, and I was doubting them as well, so I was attracting these people into my life. So I ended up at University of Santa Monica studying spiritual psychology. There's a master's program there, and in 2012, in March, I was in class. And I remember it vividly because I was sitting there in our meditation, in our prayer, and I get this message, and it's from Spirit, and it says, "You are to be a spiritual teacher." And I was like, oh, definitely not. Like, there's no way. And in my mind, I was like, look at me. I'm a raver. I like to party. There's no way anybody's going to take me seriously as a spiritual teacher. And Spirit didn't let up. And so I went home, and I decided, you know what? I need to validate myself, so I'm going to write a book. And I spent 2 days with my hands on my laptop, and I wrote a book in 2 days about how to lose weight, how to make it spiritual, how to use the law of attraction, the whole bit. And Spirit was like, no, that's not my intention. Like, you need to devote your life to doing this work. And I'm like, but nobody's going to take me seriously because I couldn't. And so after about 30 days, the rug was ripped right out from under me. And I had no other choice. Like I had all of these experiences saying, you need to just move back home and you need to regroup. But because I continued not to listen, in July of that same year, I had a near-death experience that took me out. And over the course of about 6 days, I was experiencing a miscarriage. And I didn't want to admit at that time that I was pregnant. Like it didn't, to me, I was like, this is not happening to me. So I allowed at that particular point myself to just give up. And in those moments of extreme pain, I would lose consciousness. I'd just completely lose it. And I'd cross over and I'd hear this voice say, Alida, are you ready to trust me yet? And I was like, I guess I have no other choice. And so I found myself in the hospital after surgery. For 4 days I was in the hospital because I actually had an autoimmune virus that had come through in my bloodstream that was killing me from the inside out. And so in addition to having the miscarriage, I was also dying. Literally, I was at the brink of death. And in that space, I realized I couldn't fight anymore. I couldn't fight these messages. I couldn't turn my back anymore because the call was so massive. And so at that moment, I committed to just allow these messages to come through. Now, I'm not sure if you could see the vision board. Can you see the vision board in the back?
A little bit.
A little bit?
I can see build. That's all
okay.
I can see.
Yeah, so what I did was I made this vision board and I said, okay, so if I'm going to be a spiritual teacher, I don't want to be those conventional ones. I don't want to live in an ashram and not have fun and, in my mind, not have fun and not wear makeup and not hang out with my friends. I don't want to be secluded on a mountaintop, right? I want to go out and this is the life that I want to live. So I created this vision board because I said to Spirit, if this is the path that you want for me, these are the things that I want to have in my life. And Spirit said, okay, fine, I will show you a path. And within a few months, the path revealed itself. I had these beautiful people come into my life from the Universal Intelligence Group to teach me how to really tap into my own skills. So not only did they allow me to really just come into my own and help me to feel safe in my skills, they taught me how to heal DNA and really communicate on a higher level. So now that I'm no longer with the company, what I do as an intuitive life strategist is I use clairvoyance, clairaudience, and mediumship to help people discover their soul purpose and facilitate that in action. So that's essentially what I do with clients. And so we get to the root cause of limiting beliefs. We break through the barriers that are standing in the way of people achieving infinite success. We remove the veil of perception so that people can actually see that they are not humans having a spiritual experience, but they're in fact spiritual beings having a human experience. So
very cool.
In a nutshell.
No, it's an incredible journey, and I know you had shared a little bit with me before, and you went even into deeper areas with it this time. So let's just kind of start there. So how, you mentioned you kind of remove the veil and show people that they're spiritual beings having a human experience. How do you do that? How do you start that process?
Yeah, that's a good question. One of the things that I find is people come to me with this this overwhelming feeling of self-doubt and self-judgment. And in this time period, we're in such a fragile time period because there is an energetic shift. Like we talk about the Mayan calendar, right? All of these things that are happening on a universal level. So when people are coming to me and new clients are coming to me, they're coming at me because they're saying, I'm feeling that something is pulling me in a different direction. I'm feeling that what I have been experiencing is no longer working for me. And so what I have been experiencing is self-doubt, self-judgment, a limited belief of what I'm truly capable of. And when they're in this realm of limits, they're finding there's so much resistance when they're trying to take action. There's so much procrastination. There's so many different distractions that they're having a hard time moving forward into momentum. And so what we do is we get to the root cause of why they have those self-doubts to begin with, why those judgments began. It may go back into a part of their early childhood. We may have to go back into past life. We have to go back sometimes into the energetic DNA because we don't just have 2 strands of DNA. There are 12 that we work in the scope of reality. And a lot of times in my work, we go in further into more of the strands. But the fabric of why we're in this life and the fabric of the reality that we're experiencing is woven in with all of these limits from what we have created in this physical world. And so when I work with my clients, that's the first thing that I do. I get to the root cause of why they're experiencing what they're experiencing, so we can rip out the root and bring in truth. And they'll feel instant relief.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, when you and I were talking, that was one of the things, and you brought up this concept of 12-strand DNA, and I'm completely not familiar with that either. But then as soon as we had talked, there was like 2 or 3 other people who had mentioned it, and I never heard of it before in my life. So can you kind of explain, elaborate kind of what is this concept of 12-strand DNA?
Yeah, absolutely. So we look at DNA, we look at it as a double helix, right? There's 2 strands, and it makes up our physical body. But what scientists don't really talk about, and if you search for it, you can actually find it, where there's this energetic DNA that to scientists, because they don't have the structure of measurement, they haven't come to a place where they can actually measure these other strands. So they just say, oh well, it's negligible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the 12 strands are actually responsible for things like relationships and identity and, you know, interactions with thought form. And so they're actually, it's like if you were to break down all of the components of reality, it would be the DNA of your reality, of your experience, you know, of your, not just your physical body, but your life body, of, you know, what you consider life and family and all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I get it conceptually.
So what's great about this is by doing work with 12 strands, or even as we start to dig in more and beyond the 12 strands, because there's so many more, when we start to dig into the strands, we start to find that, you know, some of them are broken or frayed or charged with something other than their truth. And so we're able to dig in and say, okay, so, you know, what is the non-truth that is present? What is it that is limiting the energy flow in this strand? Mm-hmm. And what do we need to bring into this space? How can we heal this? How can we promote healing? And so that's one of the things that I do with my clients is I'm able to tap into the energy of their DNA so that we can actually remove the things that are creating it's almost like a filter of perception.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of leads us into, you know, what we intended to discuss a lot is this idea of your perception and how does that affect your financial flow. So how do these things tie together? How does this, you know, this concept, the 12-strand DNA, energetics, and the relationships, how does that then show up in our money?
Yeah, good question. So when we are, okay, so beings, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, we are actually, in fact, in consciousness, we are creating the reality that we're experiencing through thought, through intentions, okay? Mm-hmm. And so what that means is, say we have a belief. We have a belief that, that I never have enough money. Okay. Now there are 12 universal laws that are at work. Now we all have heard of The Secret, right? Not everybody has heard of the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? One of my favorites. What the Bleep Down the Rabbit Hole was awesome. But in that they talk a lot about the law of attraction, right? That which is likened to itself is drawn. So it's like we are a magnet, okay? But when we take it a step further, we understand that we're actually interacting with things on the outside. So the outer reality that we're currently experiencing is actually a reflection of our inner reality. So the thoughts we think about the most, meaning I never have enough, you know, something always happens and I always lose my money, or I have to save for a rainy day because, you know, something massive always happens and then I lose it all, right? When we constantly think about those things, there's a universal law called the law of correspondence that actually says your outer reality reflects your inner reality. And so if your inner reality is a less than energy, if your inner reality is I never have enough, if your inner reality is I'm not worthy of having enough, then everything that you experience on the outside is going to reflect exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what can somebody do to I mean, it sounds like there's kind of a dichotomy here, right? Or the things that are opposed, in opposition to one another. In one way, it's, okay, I can create my own reality. I'm in charge of that. But on the other, it sounds like there's these underlying things that most people really don't have an understanding of, and they're almost they seem to be like things that people can't solve. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how do you reconcile those two?
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge for most people because most people don't even realize that they exist.
Right.
So it's like, for instance, I have a lot of people who come to me and they'll say, I'm really struggling with having enough money in my life. And so I'll be able to pinpoint, okay, well, you had an experience with your father at the age of 5 where, he took your money and said you need to save it or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're able to get to the root cause. But for most people who don't know how to tap back into that energy, who have not had that training, the best thing to do is really just to take a look at the inventory of your thoughts with money. So it's like, one of the things that I love using is what I call the lover analogy. Mm-hmm. And so it would be like if you were to imagine your soulmate. You would imagine the one person that you would want to spend the rest of your life with, right? What are the emotions that you would feel with this person? What are the words that you would exchange? What are the experiences that you would have? What's the energy that you would share with this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can apply this to anything in life because, people want to lose weight, they want to have more money, they want to whatever. You can apply the same thing. So if you take that, compare it to the way you see money, right? How many of us look at money like a bad ex?
Right.
We've all had that one ex who did us wrong, who cheated on us, who was never there, who was always criticizing us, right? We all have that one, maybe 2 for some people, maybe 5, right? Some people have a string of bad relationships. But that's how we see money. Somewhere along the way, we've bought into society's belief that money is scarce and that there's only so much to go around. Somewhere along the way, we bought into the fact that somebody has more, and because they have so much, they should just give it to me because I don't have enough. So we've gone from worthiness, basically saying, universe, I allow myself to receive, I allow myself to be open to your blessings. We say, no, there's only so much to go around. There's no way that you can be infinite. There's no way that money is, there's enough to go around. So I'm going to take, or I'm going to feel that I'm entitled to have something that somebody else has. Mm. And so that entitlement is what creates a separation from the infinite abundance that we are destined to have or destined to experience. So for people who are looking to make a change and make a shift, my first recommendation is take an understanding of how you see your relationship with money versus how you would see your relationship with a soulmate. Are you projecting in a whole truckload of judgment? Are you saying to your money, you're never there when I need you, you always turn your back on me, you don't love me, you don't care about me, you're evil, you're the root of all evil? Could you imagine what our soulmate would do if we told them that? They'd walk away, right?
Right.
And we expect our money to be around when we're constantly criticizing it? Like, how does that work, right?
Right.
But that's exactly the energy. It's like when we see our money, and this message is coming up, so I'm feeling like I need to speak it into this space, is there's a lot of people who worry about having a love or an obsession for money because they've been taught that money equals evil or money equals corruption. Okay, and that's actually not the truth. The energy of money started as divine. Everything in this world started as divine. It's all the energy of source. But it's only us and our perceptions that shift and change the way it takes shape. So when we're looking at seeing it in a relationship, and we're looking at it, we're rebuilding the perception that we have of it so that it can begin to change shape. And so as we're starting to reframe that, we're letting go of the resistance we have against receiving money into our life, because it's like we want more, but we see it as evil. So why would we want something that's evil in our life? The dichotomy.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where you get caught up in that. So you want it, but you're pushing it back. It's an inner conflict, right? So you're constantly, and it's hard. Money's one of those. I've heard this concept of like the ladder. Can't remember what it's called. It's like the ladder of concept. It's like conceptualizing an idea. Everywhere from something physical and tangible that I can use all my senses to something like money. It's very energetic, and it's really even our money is essentially debt. So it's like even this higher concept of what does it exist or not. So how do you how do you just I'm looking for my question here. um, how do you start walking? So you mentioned just having walking somebody through and starting to detail out the relationship with it, and have you heard of the concept of like the money honey? Is that kind of what you're referring to? Um,
Similar. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of that, but it goes a step beyond. So it starts with an intention. It starts with an intention. It's Marianne Williamson, I heard her use this over the course of her campaign, and I refer to it often. It's basically to the effect of, I made the mistakes in the past because I was unawake. I was asleep.
mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware. My eyes were not open. And that's okay. I forgive myself for being in that space. But now my eyes are open, and I'm wanting to make a change, and I'm making a conscious intention to move forward. So the first thing starts with that. It's like a responsibility. You're taking ownership for the experience that you had in the past, and you're saying, I'm no longer wanting to experience this anymore, and I'm setting the intention that something will be different. And from that intention, you're looking out and you're saying, what is it that I look to create, right? You're looking to create that beautiful relationship with money. And so when you're looking to create that beautiful relationship with money, you're saying, oh, universe, this is what I want. So I need you to show me a path of how to get there, right? But when we look at the universal laws, and this is one of the things that I found was really funny about what happened with The Secret, was we all sat back on our couches and we crossed our arms and we said, okay, I intend to make $1 million today, right? And it didn't happen. It didn't happen, and all these people are ripping their heads out like, that's just a fake. Oh, it's just a lie. Oh, these people don't know what they're talking about, right? Right? We saw so many people go through that. And so what was sad about that was the missing link was the law of action. It's one of the 12 universal laws. So I loved telling the stories. Like when you go back into the movie, the Indiana Jones movie,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Last Crusade, and he had to get the cup of Christ, and he had to have those 3 virtuous actions, right? The one of them was the leap of faith.
Right.
Okay? So when we say to the universe, this is the intention that I am looking to create, this is the reality that I want, you can't just sit back and say, okay, make it happen. But what you can do is take a step forward.
Right.
Instead of taking a step where we used to go, which is like, money's there, never there for me, and we're constantly walking that path, we choose to consciously turn our back on that path and say it's no longer mine anymore, and face the new intention that we have and take one step forward, knowing that the path will just materialize right before our feet.
Right. Right.
And taking that action allows the universe to literally line up all the pieces and conspire to make our reality real and manifest it for us.
Right. I have a friend who has a saying. He says, "Pray and move your feet." Yeah, you can do your part, and God's got to do their part, but you got to do your part too.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the relationship with money. So you kind of described like what's an unhealthy relationship, right? So that treating it like a bad ex. I love that metaphor. Like that is. I've even done that in my life, and I look back and think like, yeah, I've treated money like a bad ex. That's a great way to put it. So what does a healthy relationship with money look like? Like what are some qualities of someone who's in a good relationship and who's successful around money? What kind of beliefs do they have?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the person who's got a healthy relationship with money is going to have first respect. Absolute respect. It's respect for the ebb and flow, but mainly the flow of abundance. So when I talked about earlier the difference between entitlement versus worthiness, right? In order for us to be in the flow of abundance, be in the flow of soulful prosperity, the first thing we have to do is begin to respect our role in this. We're respecting our intention. We're respecting this conviction that we will now carry for staying in integrity with this relationship. Just as you would when you make a commitment to somebody in a new relationship, you make the commitment to be there for that person. Of course, there's lots of different intentions, but the first thing you do is you commit to being there 100% for this person, right? That's the first step to any relationship. And so from there, when you're respecting this level of conviction and commitment, you're seeing that a lot of these thoughts and this baggage that you've carried from the past cannot be brought into this sacred space. So we have fears, we have doubts, we've got frustrations, we've got all these, like, it's like rocks in a backpack that we would normally carry into a relationship, but we're making the commitment. We're saying, okay, you know what? I'm leaving this at the door. And so we're now making the commitment that we're not going to bring that past into this relationship. And this relationship is going to be new. It's going to be fresh, right? And so what do when you first start dating somebody? You explore. What do you like? What do you like? What do we like doing together? What is our flow together? Same thing with money. If you were getting to know money for the first time, wouldn't your perspective of it be totally different, right? So you're looking at money and you're saying, okay, so what type of experiences do we like to have together? What type of energy do we like to share together? And it could be something as simple as, being present with balancing your checkbook, right? We don't really have to do that as much as we used to, but it could mean as simple as just checking in on your bank account, just signing in online or on the app on your phone and just saying, you know what, thank you for being here with me. Right? Just like you would a love note, right? Thank you for being here with me and thank you for sharing this experience with me. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that I have you as a partner to help facilitate action in my life. I am in the deepest amount of gratitude for having your presence in my life to give me the ability to go out and do other bigger things, right? And then from that space, we're able to take a look at money and we're able to see how when we allow ourselves to receive money, like we don't realize that we're actually resisting ourselves from receiving money because we have this judgment of it, right? So we're resisting it coming into our life. But when we build a relationship, and we all have this in a lot of relationships too, when we're carrying baggage, we resist love, right? Mm-hmm. So many people get into a relationship and they're like, oh, I can't let this person love me, they might hurt me, right? But when we're in a new relationship and we're committing to be completely open, we're looking at money and saying, okay, so I am now open to receive an abundance of love, an abundance of money, an abundance of wealth into my life, because I know that the more I have, the more I can give. Because I know that not only can I go be and do and have all the things that I want to have, the more money I have, but I'm also contributing to the whole, right? We look at the law of divine oneness, and it's basically saying that we are all connected. We are all one, right? But we forget when we're in that space of like back and forth of, well, I never have enough and you always have more. We're separating ourselves from the oneness, right? Mm-hmm. But when we receive money, when we allow ourselves to receive money, and then we go out and we have thanks, we have gratitude for having this money. When we go out and spend money, we give thanks again. We give thanks to the person who is receiving it. We give in gratitude. And we're giving with the understanding that we are now becoming this, it's almost like a filter. It's coming through us and it's coming right back out. And so we're going out and we're amplifying the gratitude that we have into that money so that when we give it, we're giving it with the intention that it's actually amplifying love out into the rest of the world, because now we're giving it to that one person, that one clerk who may have 12 kids, working 3 jobs, right? We've just given to that person to help support them, to help their kids, to do great in their worlds. But we have a tendency not to think about those things. So this is also an experience that we now share in our new money relationship, right? Just as you would with a partner, you go out and you contribute to charity. You go, serve at a soup kitchen, and you do it together, and your arms are locked, and you're like, let's go, and we're going to go serve our community. Same thing with money. When we have the money to give, we're doing it. We're like, yes, money, what can we do today? And we see it as an adventure. We see it as a gift, and we see it as a blessing.
I find it interesting, especially when you start talking about the relationship with money, when you make the relationship a tangible person almost, like if you're like, okay, this is your soulmate you're talking to. I think that's a really interesting concept. So what would you tell to somebody who, so to kind of play along with that metaphor, what if somebody's been in that relationship where they've been treating money like an ex for a long time, and how, you can't really break up with that person and start all over, because that's what you're talking about a lot of ways, is like that new, fresh energy that you get with a new relationship is very exciting and very fun, but it's with the idea that this is a new relationship, so you're willing to suspend, maybe what's happened in my past isn't my past. So what would you tell somebody who, they've had an ongoing relationship with money that's never been good? How do you get them to make a break and start fresh?
The first thing is self-reflection, right? Because when we look at the understanding, we go back to the law of correspondence, we understand that everything on the outside is a reflection of everything on the inside, right? And so we'll look at the law of compensation. It's another one of the 12 universal laws. And the law of compensation basically states that what you give, you get. So if I'm constantly giving out into the world this I never have enoughness, if I'm constantly giving out into the world, I'm not worthy enough to receive, the world is going to give that back to me. But the same thing holds true to what we give to ourselves. Meaning, if I'm always last on my priority list, if I'm always last to give myself self-love, but I'm so quick to give it to everybody else, if I'm so quick to sacrifice the things that are important to me so that I can make others happy, at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, I'm drained, and I'm falling apart. And so these are the energies that we're putting into our relationships with people and with money, with our health. Because we've sacrificed what we think, what we know to be true for an idea that we think is true. We've sacrificed our truth for somebody else's limit. Mm-hmm. Because somebody told us this is more important than this. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so the first step is to take an inner reflection of, how am I showing up for myself? How am I being in truth or in judgment? And so when I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at my daily life and I'm like, I'm like number 10 on my priority list, but my clients and my this and my that, everything else comes first, right? I'm going to automatically feel that there's not enough of me to go around, which is a direct reflection of my money. There's never enough to go around, right? And it goes a step further, because when we have this fear of not enoughness, right? It transitions into never enough time, never enough energy, right? Because when we're in this place of not enoughness, it goes into all areas of life, because the universe just here is not enough. So the universe delivers exactly what we're asking for. So for a person who's struggling and they're wanting to make that first step, it's an inner reflection. How is my outer reality reflecting what I'm projecting? What are the thoughts and feelings and emotions that I have about me, the judgments and the doubts that I have about me that are being reflected in my relationship with money or with people or with my health?
And thank you. I mean, that really answers that question well. I mean, it really makes a lot of sense. Just to start taking that reflection in, and I mean, I believe that. I mean, I believe I've seen it. One thing in my life is all things. So it's like my health is my relationship, is my money, is all those things kind of just is my time, and they just all kind of all tie together. So you start to take a reflection of that, you can kind of piece those bits together a little bit, like, well, am I abundant in this area, or am I scarce? What are my beliefs around that? So if you've taken an inventory, what do you, I guess awareness is that kind of that first step. How do you start to then chip away at that, or decide what it is you want to do?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Is when we take an inventory and we become actually present to kind of the deck of cards that we're playing with, to the game that we're playing. It's really important to go back into that space of conviction, like we talked about. When you're starting a new relationship, you make a commitment and you form a new level of conviction. So in that space, you need to make a commitment to yourself that you're going to look at these things objectively without judgment, which I know for a lot of people is really hard. So if you were to take a look at if you were, say, to see yourself through the eyes of God in this beautiful, divine, perfect being state, okay? And you were to see that you've done nothing wrong, all of these mistakes and challenges that you faced have all just been an error because your eyes were closed and you were asleep, right? You're able to look at this without attachment. So there's no attachment to the outcome. There's no attachment to what these things mean. You're just looking at them and saying, okay, I am now aware and I can now move forward. So as you're looking at one of them, you're itemizing them and you're looking at each one and you're saying, okay, well, you know, in the past I felt like I wasn't enough, right? Okay, well, wait a second. What's the truth of that? The universe is about abundance, and if I'm thinking I'm not enough, but the universe is abundant, how am I out of alignment with how the universe sees me, right? And then we look at and we say, well, it feels like there's this stoppage, there's a dam that's preventing the flow of abundance into my life. And I'm looking at this one thing and I'm going, well, yeah, like I have this fear that money is going to corrupt me. Well, that's stopping money from coming into my life, right? But then we look at it and we go, okay, well, the universe wants me to be abundant. Like my sole purpose, everyone's sole purpose as a spiritual being having a human experience is to experience abundance. It's built into the universal laws, right? And so when we look at that and we say, okay, wait a second, from a universal perspective, like that's not my truth either.
So what would you say to somebody? Because that's kind of that's a really strong belief, right? That money is not spiritual. So you're saying,
yeah. So it's the funny thing is that we've forgotten, we have forgotten as spiritual beings having a human experience. We have forgotten that we are creating this reality, and we've given in to this reality this perception of reality that we're a victim of circumstance. We're a victim of things that are happening to us instead of just being observers. So as we're present in this world and all of these things are coming at us, we're taking them on as our identity. And as we're taking them on as our identity, all of a sudden our identity just gets heavy and it just gets weighed down because now we're believing all of the limits that everybody else has been telling us, right? So when we look back into that, it's this understanding of like getting back to what our truth is. Our truth is that we are infinite beings. Our truth is that we are meant to have abundance. Our truth is that we are meant to have a flow. And so when we look at every single thing in this world, it's all a reflection of our perception of reality, including money. So if we look at money where money was created for convenience, right? So that we didn't have to trade a chicken and 2 cows. Right?
Make it a little simpler, yeah.
Yeah, in total simplicity. But over time, we've bought into the limits, and we've allowed people to say, well, my self-worth is determined by the amount of money that I have, instead of vice versa. Instead of saying money reflects my self-worth, right? Just that tiny little switch changes everything. So the more I feel worthy, the more I am open to receive. The more I feel that I am worthy to receive the abundance, the more money can come into my life because I've opened a space for myself to receive it. And so when we understand, it's like the universe put us here at this time, understanding that we need money to survive in this physical world. We do, right? The more money we have, the more people we can help, the more experiences that we can have, the more we can teach, the more we can get out, right? Yeah?
Right.
And so the universe didn't put us in here to go, oh, you need to be poor for the rest of your life, right? You need to beg for the rest of your life. You're not meant to suffer. That's not the intention. So when we go back into that understanding and we allow ourselves to receive that beautiful vision, so many wonderful things can happen from that space.
Yeah. And money is just a magnifier sometimes, right? So if you're a jerk without money, you're probably going to be a jerk with money.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's funny that you say that because you know when we look at this this fear that I don't have my own voice, that people are always stepping over me, or people are always trying to put words in my mouth, right? You're always going to attract situations where people are exerting power over you, and that can include money. So if you feel that if you're never being heard, or people just always try to take your power, They're going to exert their power with money over you, and you're basically giving them permission by harboring that thought about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but in that, because our outer reality is a reflection of our inner reality, the other person who is a jerk with or without money is always attracting people into his life that are always pissing him off, always triggering him, right? And so in his mind, he's justified in being a jerk.
Yeah, because he says, look at all these people, look at all these things that are happening to me to make me upset.
Exactly. And that's just, it's a perfect example of how, we're all creating this. We're all reflecting it.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Talk to me. Tell me a little bit about the finding your voice. Like what did you really mean by that? Can we dig into that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I find so often with clients is we have an experience somewhere along the way that we were not heard as a child, maybe a past life. And we look at some of the shootings that have happened recently where the kid felt like he needed to take other people's lives because nobody heard him.
Yeah.
Nobody saw him, right? So we live in a fantasy world with technology. We hide behind a computer screen, we hide behind a phone. We're living in fantasy worlds with games and these virtual worlds. We've lost physical contact. We've lost human interaction. But in that space, we've also succumbed to the media. And so the media tells us in order for you to be accepted, you have to be XYZ. In order for you to be accepted by us, you have to dress a certain way, you have to look a certain way, you have to act a certain way, right? And so because we grew up with those limiting beliefs, we have now bought into and we begin to resonate with those same limits. So when we really want to speak about our truth, we don't feel like we're being heard. And it's not just by people outside of ourselves, it's because that's how we feel inside. We're not being heard because we don't even hear our own voice. We have now managed to judge ourselves by a scale that somebody else has determined in their own limits, in their own insecurities. And so we have this beautiful inner voice that is it's so powerful, and it's a gift to the world. It's a blessing to the world. We came into this world to be authentic, not to be like the rest of everyone, right? Even though we're all connected, we're all one. We came with authentic qualities. But every single day that we buy into this sameness, and try to be like somebody else, we are ignoring our own inner voice.
Yeah.
Feeling that we have inside is just so painful. It's like, nobody ever hears me because I never hear me.
Because again, it goes back to that relationship. Like, what you're doing on the inside is really a reflection of what you're doing on the outside, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I, for about 10 years, I've been a personal trainer, and I used to teach people because I had to lose a lot of weight. I lost 80 pounds, and in that scope, I realized that I was projecting a lot of energy onto myself and onto my body. And I remember looking at myself one day in the mirror and just saying, "I hate you," and it was like a massive blow to the chest. Like it knocked the wind out of me. And I remember as I said that, it was like, Alida, what did you just do? Like, why would you say that to yourself? And I started to cry. And in that space, I realized that my relationship with my body was so toxic and so painful. There was no way my body could heal. There was no way my body could reflect anything other than that. Because I had spent so much time and energy projecting self-hate into it, I never gave it the space to change. And so as I was working with clients, I used to teach them the same body relationship, because you need to understand how you're projecting into this space. All of the stuff that you're just vomiting into what could be a very sacred relationship. And so I found that, a lot of people are losing tons and tons of weight because they're changing the relationship that they have with their body. Instead of cursing it, they're blessing it.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. No, thank you, Alida. I mean, you've given us some amazing stuff. I mean, I think that just the metaphor alone, just that relationship and understanding that and starting to cultivate that, it's really cool stuff. So if people want to learn more about what it is that you do and more about you, where can they learn about you, and what do you have going on right now? Like, kind of talk a little bit about like the projects that you're the project that you're doing right now.
Okay, beautiful. So on June 1st, I launched a program. It's a completely free program. It's called 30 Days to Namaste. And the intention of the program is to help people really get to the root causes of all of the issues that they're experiencing in life with regards to soulful prosperity. So it's a progressive program, and you get a new skill or a new tool every single day to practice. There are meditations and lots of fun exploration. So that's a program that I offer completely free to every single person who ever wants to take it. It'll be free forever. And then with that, I'm actually going to be launching a book. So I'm expanding the program into a book. The link will be live tomorrow for pre-sale for $19.95, and it will be an ebook that will include 5 super, super powerful meditations. So it'll be pre-sale, like I said, for $19.95, and the price will go up when the book is completely officially launched, which is July 15th. And then you can also check out my website. It's my full name, alidamcdaniel.com, for more information about my radio shows, about the webinars that I do, and more about my coaching programs.
Yeah, so tell us like what's kind of the process for this 30 Days to Namaste? Like what's the goal? Like where, I guess, in the spiritual world, I'm like, I'm gonna talk achiever. Like what's the goal? Can I achieve enlightenment?
Yeah.
But what's
yes, that's the goal.
Okay.
That is the goal, yeah.
What's kind of your outcome for this? Like what is it that you're hoping to give to people?
Okay, so it's essentially when you look at, for instance, so we look at spirituality. A lot of people have had varying degrees of interaction with the word spirituality, right? We've had religion, we've got these spiritual gurus who talk about a lot of different things, right? So this program is really about getting you back aligned with your truth. So getting you back in contact with the 12 universal laws, getting you really back in contact with your soul. So that little voice inside of you that's wanting to speak, that's been wanting to speak, is actually guiding you every step of the way. So, one of the things that I talk about in the program is, we've heard affirmations, right? We've had so many people and we speak affirmations and we're using somebody else's affirmation, all day long. But we're putting it into the space of, Jesus told a story about you can't put new wine in old wine bags. Mm-hmm. Because the wine bag will break, right? So what we're doing here is we're recreating the house that we're holding our spirituality in. So we don't even talk about affirmations until about a week into the program. Because what we're doing is we're rebuilding the foundation. And we're restructuring the house that we hold our truths to be in. And as we're doing that, we're understanding that when we set an intention, there's a specific process of following through with it. There's a specific understanding that we have within ourselves that we allow ourselves to receive. And so through the program, we're opening ourselves up to receive by clearing out the clutter that is preventing it from coming into our lives. So the intention really is to give you the capacity to be able to create the life that you desire and deserve in 30 days.
Very cool. Very cool. And it's a free, totally free email program?
Totally free. Yeah, every single day you'll get a new email from me. It'll have an audio or a video or just a PDF, just something to just wet your whistle. It's super simple. None of the audios or videos are anything less than 10 minutes. So total completion every single day is a 10-minute commitment. So it's really just it's a beautiful, beautiful program.
Anything less than or anything more than 10 minutes?
Yeah. It's just 10 minutes is max.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying anything less than 10 minutes. I was like, wait a second.
Oh no, it can be 10 minutes or less. Yeah. So.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. No, thank you for showing up today and just being present and delivering an amazing amount of information. And I know you believe in just being a channel, letting stuff speak through you. And I think you really you held that space today and did that. Is there anything kind of inspirational or something parting that you would like, maybe something we missed that you would like to tell people?
Actually, just let me channel in a message real quick, and then we'll give what your viewers need to hear. Okay?
Channel away.
All right. So the message is this: it's no dream is too big. If you have a burst of inspiration that seems that it's so massive that it's inachievable, don't stand in your own way. There's a reason why you're receiving this message. There's a reason why Spirit is calling you forward. There's a reason why the universe is inspiring you in this moment. So even if it seems too big for you right now, take a step forward and allow yourself to explore what could possibly be if you allow this reality to manifest in your life.
Very good. Very good. It's a really big, brilliant dream to go after something like that. So cool. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate this. It feels like I feel very complete. Like, do you feel like a sense of completeness? Are we missing anything?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Good, good. So thank you for doing this. I look forward to seeing emails from you. I signed up for I got your first email today. My fiance and I are going to do it together. So we're kind of excited about just taking part in that and stepping through some of the stuff. So it's going to kind of be a fun process for us. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing your radio show and getting to know more about you and all the stuff, all the cool, interesting stuff that you're doing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you. So I'm going to end the broadcast and then just stick around. We'll have a little chat for a little bit. Cool?
Sounds great.
All right. Bye.